If you want to protect your peace, your progress, and your future in 2026, this video will show you exactly which 8 things you must stop sharing with anyone and why keeping them private can quietly change your life. Many people unknowingly talk too much about their plans, their struggles, and their inner world, then wonder why they feel drained, stuck, or misunderstood. In today's world, not everyone listening wants the best for you, and some information loses its power the moment it leaves your mouth. If you ignore this, you risk inviting doubt, judgment, and unnecessary obstacles into your journey. But there is a deeper reason behind silence that most people never realize. Stay with me, because in this video I will reveal 8 powerful things you should keep to yourself in 2026 to protect your energy, your growth, and your peace. The first key point is about learning the power of not announcing your next move before it is ready to stand on its own. Most people think sharing plans creates motivation, but in reality it creates noise. The moment you speak your intentions out loud, you open the door to opinions you never asked for. Some people will doubt you, some will compare themselves to you, and some will secretly hope you fail, so they feel better about staying where they are. Your mind then shifts from execution to explanation. Instead of building, you start defending. Instead of moving forward, you start proving. This is where energy leaks. Silence, on the other hand, keeps your focus sharp. When no one knows what you are doing, there is no pressure to perform for applause. You move because you are committed, not because you are being watched. There is also a deeper reason why sharing your next move weakens it. When you talk about a goal, your brain receives a false sense of completion. You feel important, you feel productive, but nothing has actually happened. Words give your mind a reward without the work. This is dangerous. It tricks you into thinking progress has been made when it has not. A quiet action does not give you that fake satisfaction. It forces you to earn every step. When you stop talking and start working, discipline replaces excitement. And discipline, not excitement, is what builds results that last beyond motivation. Another truth people avoid is that not everyone listens with good intentions. Some people listen to measure you. Some listen to compete with you. Some listen to collect information. When you reveal your next move too early, you make yourself predictable. Predictability is weakness in a fast-changing world. When others know your direction, they can interfere, discourage, or distract you. Even if they do nothing directly, their opinions sit in your mind like background noise. Silence removes that noise. When no one knows what you are building, no one can influence how you build it. Your path stays clean. There is also something powerful that happens inside you when you stop explaining your future to others. You become more grounded. You stop needing validation. You stop looking for approval. You realize that confidence does not come from people agreeing with your plans. It comes from trusting yourself enough to act without witnesses. This kind of inner strength is rare. It makes you calm. It makes you patient. It makes you resilient when things go wrong, because there is no audience to disappoint. You are accountable only to your own standards, and that raises the quality of your effort. Silence also teaches timing. Not every truth needs to be shared immediately. Not every win needs to be announced. When you wait, you gain perspective. You see what works and what does not before anyone else gets involved. You refine quietly. You improve privately. Then, when the moment comes, your results speak with clarity and force. People respect outcomes more than promises. They listen more when you show proof instead of potential. By staying quiet, you allow your work to mature instead of exposing it while it is still fragile. Finally, understand this clearly. Moving in silence is not about hiding. It is about protecting your momentum. Great things often fail not because they were impossible, but because they were exposed too early. Like a flame in the wind, your next move needs shelter before it can grow strong. Give it time, give it space. Let effort replace explanation, let action replace announcement. And one day, when people ask how it all happened, your silence will have already done the work for you. The second key point is about understanding that your weak moments are not meant for public consumption. Vulnerability is powerful, but only in the right hands. Many people confuse being open with being exposed. When you share your lowest moments with the wrong person, you don't receive support, you receive a label. From that moment on, no matter how strong you become, they remember you as the version that was broken. Words spoken in pain have a long shadow. They stay in other people's memory far longer than they stay in your own healing process. That is why wisdom is not about hiding emotions, but about choosing the right container for them. In moments of weakness, you are emotionally raw. Your judgment is not at its sharpest. You speak to feel lighter, but sometimes you end up feeling smaller. Some people listen not to help, but to store information. They may not use it today or tomorrow, but one day, when you are rising, that same story can quietly be turned into a weapon. Not everyone who says, "I understand," truly understands. Some understand only enough to repeat your story in a different tone to a different audience without your permission. Once your pain leaves your mouth, you lose control over how it travels. There is also a psychological cost to oversharing your struggles. When you repeat your pain again and again to people who cannot guide you forward, you reinforce the identity of being stuck. You start seeing yourself through the lens of the story you told. Healing requires movement, not repetition. Growth requires forward focus, not constant revisiting of wounds. The wrong listener keeps you anchored to your past, while the right listener helps you process and release it. This is why wisdom is selective, not silent. Another uncomfortable truth is that some people feel powerful when they see you weak. It makes them feel safer about their own life. Your struggle becomes their comparison point. They may show sympathy on the surface, but inside, they feel relieved that they are not the one falling apart. Sharing your weak moments with such people feeds their ego and drains your strength. You leave the conversation feeling exposed instead of supported. Energy never lies. If you feel smaller after speaking, you spoke to the wrong person. This does not mean you should carry everything alone. Strength is not isolation. Strength is discernment. There are rare people in life who can hold your pain without judging you, without spreading it, without using it to define you. These people help you find clarity, not confusion. They listen to understand, not to respond. They remind you of who you are beyond the moment you are in. Such connections are built slowly through trust, not through emotional urgency. Until you find them, it is better to sit with your emotions, write them down, pray over them, or process them privately rather than handing them to unsafe hands. There is a quiet dignity in handling your weak moments with care. When you learn to pause before speaking, you give yourself time to regain strength. You learn that not every feeling needs an audience. Some battles are meant to be fought internally before they are ever spoken about. When you emerge stronger, your silence becomes a statement. People see growth without knowing the struggle behind it. And that kind of strength commands respect without asking for sympathy. The third key point is about understanding that money is one of the most emotionally charged topics in human relationships. And sharing details about it often costs more than it gives. The moment you reveal how much you earn, save, or struggle with, people unconsciously change their behavior toward you. If they think you have more, expectations rise. If they think you have less, respect quietly drops. very few people remain neutral. Money numbers turn into silent judgments, and those judgments shape how people speak to you, value you, and sometimes even use you. Protecting your financial details is not secrecy, it is wisdom. When people know you have money, their requests change. Conversations become softer, favors become heavier, and boundaries become harder to enforce. Some will assume you can help simply because you can. Others will test your generosity, not because they need support, but because they want access. Over time, you stop being seen as a person and start being seen as a resource. Even if you give once with a good heart, the expectation quietly grows. Saying no later makes you look selfish. Even if you were never responsible for anyone's financial comfort in the first place, silence would have protected that relationship from this imbalance. On the other side, when people know you are struggling financially, they may offer sympathy but rarely respect. Advice suddenly becomes louder, opinions become sharper, your choices are questioned, your decisions are doubted, and your confidence is subtly undermined. Even well-meaning people may begin to treat you as someone who needs guidance instead of someone capable of growth. This changes how you see yourself as well. You may start shrinking your voice in rooms where you should be standing tall. Money struggles are temporary, but labels formed from them can last much longer. There is also a deep psychological trap in talking about money too freely. When you share financial wins, ego grows. When you share financial stress, shame grows. Both pull you away from balance. Money works best when it is managed quietly and intentionally. Loud money invites comparison. Comparison invites pressure. Pressure invites poor decisions. People begin chasing lifestyles instead of building stability. They spend to impress instead of investing to progress. Silence creates space for clarity. It allows you to make calm, long-term decisions without the noise of other people's expectations. Another reality people avoid is that money stories travel fast. What you tell one person rarely stays with one person. Numbers get exaggerated, misunderstood, or repeated without context. Suddenly, you are known as the rich one or the struggling one, and neither title serves you. Once that image forms, it is hard to break. People approach you with assumptions instead of curiosity. They stop seeing your effort and focus only on the outcome. By keeping financial details private, you allow people to judge you by your character, not your cash flow. True financial strength is quiet. It does not need validation. It does not need comparison. It moves steadily, protected from outside influence. When you stop talking about money, you start listening to it. You understand where it goes, how it grows, and what it truly represents in your life. Not status, not power, but security, freedom, and peace of mind. And those things are far too valuable to be discussed casually. The fourth key point is about protecting your big dreams from people who are not emotionally equipped to understand them. Every dream begins fragile. It starts as a quiet idea, not yet proven, not yet tested by reality. When you speak it too early, especially to people who live comfortably within limits, they do not hear possibility, they hear risk. They measure your vision using their own fear. And what they call realism is often nothing more than self-doubt projected onto you. Dreams don't need permission to exist. They need time to grow strong enough to stand against resistance. Small-minded reactions rarely come from hatred. They come from insecurity. When someone hears a dream bigger than their own life choices, it challenges their sense of comfort. Instead of asking how, they ask why. Instead of supporting, they warn. Their words may sound practical, even caring, but beneath them is a quiet message: stay where you are. When you absorb that message too early, you begin negotiating with your own vision. You start shrinking it to make others comfortable. That is how powerful dreams slowly lose their power. There is also a danger in explaining big dreams before you have the structure to support them. At the beginning, you don't have answers yet, you only have belief. When people question you and you cannot fully explain the how, doubt sneaks in. You begin to feel irresponsible for dreaming without a detailed roadmap. But every great achievement begins this way. Clarity comes from movement, not from conversation. When you wait until your dream has shape, progress, and proof, criticism loses its grip. Silence allows your belief to mature before it is tested. Another truth is that not everyone is meant to walk with you into your future. Some people are only meant to know your past. When you share your dreams too freely, you confuse access with connection. Real support is rare. Many people clap at the idea but disappear at the effort. By staying quiet, you naturally filter who truly belongs in your journey. The ones who remain supportive without knowing details are the ones who respect you, not just your success. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with dreaming big. Your dream is a promise you make to yourself. Breaking it hurts more than failing in front of others. When too many people know your vision, their opinions begin to sit in your mind like voices during moments of difficulty. You no longer hear your own intuition clearly. You begin chasing approval instead of alignment. Protecting your dream means protecting your inner voice. That voice is your greatest guide, but it is soft. Too much outside noise can drown it out. Great dreams do not announce themselves. They reveal themselves over time. Like a mountain emerging from fog, their shape becomes clear only when you get closer. When you finally speak about it, let it be from a place of progress, not hope alone. Let people see consistency, not just ambition. When the world meets your dream after you have already started climbing, their opinions matter less, and your belief stands firm on its own foundation. The fifth key point is about understanding that your daily routine and discipline are not just habits, they are your private advantage. What you do every day shapes who you become, and when you explain those actions too freely, you dilute their power. Many people talk about routines as if they are badges of honor, but the truth is, discipline works best when it is quiet. The moment you start describing your schedule to others, you invite unnecessary comparison. Some will try to copy you without understanding your reasons. Others will criticize you for being too strict or too intense. Neither response helps you stay consistent. There is also a subtle shift that happens when your discipline becomes public. You begin performing your routine instead of living it. Your focus moves from progress to perception. Instead of asking, "Is this working for me?" you start asking, "How does this look to others?" This is dangerous. Discipline is deeply personal. It is built around your energy, your goals, your season of life. When outside opinions enter the picture, you may adjust things that were actually serving you well, just to avoid judgment or explanation. Another overlooked truth is that routines shared too early often break too soon. When people know what you are trying to do daily, they start watching for consistency. A missed day becomes a talking point. A small break becomes a reason for doubt. This creates pressure that has nothing to do with growth. Real discipline allows flexibility. It adapts without guilt. But when your routine is public, you feel trapped by expectations. Silence gives you freedom to adjust, improve, and recover without feeling like you failed in front of an audience. Discipline is not impressive because it is strict. It is impressive because it is sustainable. Most people admire routines, but few respect the patience behind them. When you talk too much about your daily habits, people focus on the visible effort, not the invisible commitment. They see the wake-up time, not the mindset. They see the workout, not the self-control. This shallow understanding invites shallow opinions. Protecting your routine protects the depth of your work. It keeps your process pure. There is also power in letting people wonder how you became the way you are. When they see results without knowing the routine, they respect the outcome more. Mystery creates authority. Explanation invites debate. You do not owe anyone a breakdown of your discipline. Your life is not a tutorial. The people who truly want to grow will build their own systems instead of borrowing yours. And the people who only want to talk will lose interest when there is nothing to discuss. True discipline does not seek recognition. It seeks alignment. When you wake up, work, train your mind, and repeat without announcing it, you build an identity that does not depend on validation. You become consistent because it is who you are, not because someone is watching. That is when discipline turns into character. And character, once formed, does not need to be explained. The sixth key point is about guarding the private matters of your family with maturity and restraint. Every family has struggles, disagreements, and moments that are not perfect. That is part of being human. But the way you handle those moments defines your character. When you speak about family issues outside the home, you are not just sharing a story, you are shaping how others see the people who raised you and the environment that formed you. Once those words leave your mouth, they cannot be taken back. Even if problems are later resolved, the image you created in someone else's mind often remains unchanged. Many people share family problems because they are emotional, not because they are seeking solutions. In those moments, the need to feel understood becomes stronger than the need to protect dignity. But most listeners do not have the context, patience, or responsibility to hold such information with care. They hear one side, one moment, one emotion, and they form conclusions. Over time, those conclusions become opinions, and those opinions can quietly influence how they treat you and your family. What was meant to be a moment of release turns into long-term damage. There is also an internal cost to speaking poorly about your family. When you repeatedly describe your home as broken or difficult, you reinforce that narrative in your own mind. You begin to identify yourself with dysfunction instead of growth. This affects confidence more than people realize. Even if your family truly has deep challenges, constantly speaking about them outside does not heal them. Healing requires effort, boundaries, and sometimes distance, not public discussion. Silence gives you the mental space to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. Another uncomfortable truth is that family issues often become entertainment for others. Some people listen out of curiosity, not concern. They remember details, repeat stories, and add their own interpretation. What was once private becomes public in a distorted form. Later, when relationships improve or situations change, the old story still circulates. You are forced to live with a version of your life that no longer exists. Protecting family matters protects you from this unnecessary exposure. This does not mean ignoring serious problems or accepting harm. It means choosing the right places for those conversations. Family challenges should be discussed with people who are qualified to help, not just available to listen. A counselor, a trusted elder, or a truly wise friend can offer guidance without judgment. Random listeners offer sympathy without responsibility. Knowing the difference is maturity. It shows that you value resolution over validation. When you learn to keep family matters private, something powerful happens. You develop emotional strength. You stop seeking external approval and start building internal stability. You learn to handle conflict with grace and patience. People begin to see you as grounded, respectful, and reliable. Even when they don't know what you've endured, they sense your depth. And that quiet strength becomes one of the most respected qualities you carry into every area of life. The seventh key point is about recognizing that fear, when shared carelessly, can quietly become a cage. Fear is natural. Every ambitious person feels it. But the mistake is not feeling fear, the mistake is giving it a voice in the wrong ears. When you speak your fears out loud to people who lack wisdom, those fears no longer remain temporary emotions. They turn into identities others attach to you. From that moment on, you are no longer seen as someone growing through uncertainty, but as someone limited by doubt. Fear spoken aloud gains weight. Inside your mind, fear is flexible, it changes. It weakens as you act. But once you say it, it becomes fixed. People remember it. And when you attempt something bold later, they may remind you of what you once feared, even if you have already outgrown it. Their reminder pulls you backward. It makes you question your own progress. This is how fear spreads. First through words, then through memory, then through hesitation. Another danger of sharing fear is that many people respond by reinforcing it, not dissolving it. They don't intend harm, but their advice often sounds like caution wrapped in concern. They say things like, "Be realistic," or "Don't take unnecessary risks." What they are really doing is projecting their own fears onto your situation. Their comfort zone becomes your ceiling. Instead of feeling encouraged, you feel validated in staying small. Fear feels safer when others agree with it, and that is exactly why it becomes more powerful. There is also a personal cost to repeating your fears out loud. The more you speak them, the more familiar they become. Familiar fear feels justified. You start collecting reasons to avoid action. Your mind begins searching for proof that the fear is right. This slowly erodes courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move without announcing every doubt. Silence gives courage room to grow. It allows fear to pass without becoming a permanent story. This does not mean pretending to be fearless. It means choosing a better way to process fear. Some fears need reflection, not conversation. Writing them down, sitting with them, questioning them internally. These methods reduce their intensity. Fear often shrinks when examined privately, but when exposed to careless listeners, it multiplies. The wrong audience gives fear attention instead of direction. The right audience helps transform fear into strategy. Knowing the difference is emotional intelligence. When you stop sharing your fears with everyone, something shifts inside you. You begin trusting your own resilience. You realize that fear does not define your future, only your response does. You start acting first and analyzing later. People around you may not know the doubts you faced, but they will see the confidence you developed. And that confidence will not be loud or dramatic. It will be calm, steady, and deeply rooted. Because it was built in silence. The eighth key point is about understanding that in the digital world, oversharing is no longer harmless, it is risky. Every post, every update, every detail you put online builds a public version of you that you cannot fully control. People assume that because something is shared casually, it will be received casually. That is not how the internet works. Information online does not disappear. It accumulates, it creates patterns, and those patterns allow strangers, acquaintances, and even silent observers to draw conclusions about your life that may not be true, fair, or safe. Privacy today is not about hiding, it is about self-preservation. When you share too much online, you slowly lose the ability to choose how you are perceived. People begin to feel entitled to your story. They track your progress, compare their life to yours, and form opinions without context. Some will admire you, some will envy you, and some will quietly resent you. The problem is not their emotion, the problem is access. Most people do not know you well enough to hold your life with care. Yet the internet gives them front row seats. Silence limits access. It restores balance. Another danger of oversharing is that it invites constant comparison. The more you show, the more you feel pressured to maintain an image. You begin curating moments instead of living them. Instead of asking, is this meaningful? You ask, is this shareable? That shift changes your relationship with your own life. Joy becomes performance. Peace becomes proof. Over time, this creates anxiety because your happiness now depends on reaction, not reality. The quiet moments that actually heal you remain unseen and slowly undervalued. There is also a security cost that many people ignore. Details about your routine, location, relationships, and habits give others a map of your life. Not everyone watching you wishes you well. Some people observe silently, gathering information without ever interacting. Oversharing removes natural boundaries. It turns your personal life into public data. Protecting your privacy is not fear-based thinking, it is awareness. In a connected world, boundaries are a form of intelligence. Oversharing also weakens emotional resilience. When every thought is posted and every feeling is shared, you lose the habit of self-reflection. You process emotions externally instead of internally. This creates dependence on feedback. Approval becomes comfort, silence feels uncomfortable. But growth happens in quiet spaces. Strength is built when you sit with your thoughts long enough to understand them without needing instant validation. The internet is fast, but healing is slow. Confusing the two leads to burnout. Choosing not to share everything does not make you distant or dishonest. It makes you grounded. You begin to value your life more when it is not constantly on display. You realize that the most meaningful progress happens quietly. Peace does not announce itself. Fulfillment does not need witnesses. When you reclaim your privacy, you reclaim control over your energy, your focus, and your direction. And in a world where everyone is visible, choosing restraint becomes a powerful form of self-respect. As you step into 2026, remember this truth: not everything valuable needs to be visible, and not everything powerful needs to be spoken. Your life does not grow through noise, it grows through intention. What you protect shapes who you become. When you choose silence over oversharing, discernment over impulse, and wisdom over validation, you are not closing yourself off, you are strengthening yourself. Let your actions speak louder than your announcements. Let your growth be felt before it is explained. Let your peace be guarded like something sacred. In a world that demands constant access to you, choosing restraint is courage. Choosing privacy is strength. Choosing wisdom is freedom. Walk into the future with clarity, not clutter. With focus, not noise. With confidence that does not need an audience. Grow quietly. Stand firmly, and let the life you build speak for itself.